try better tomorrow. And every day, Krishna will help you to be a little better. And as you get a little better, become a little more enthusiastic. You start feeling wonderful. You start to see the hand of Krishna in your life. You start to realize the different arrangements he's making on our behalf to help us. You become more and more enlivened. And then one day, you'll be more Krishna conscious than you've ever been before. And you go to Krishna and you'll say, my dear Lord Krishna, today I was more Krishna conscious than I ever been before, but I know I can do better. Please help me to do better. And so every day you tell him and ask him, tell him what you tried to do, and ask him to please help you to do better, to improve, because we can always improve. We can always become more Krishna conscious. Because one thing that Prabhupada taught me is that spiritual life means everything is increasing. Our devotion increases, our service increases, our realization increases, our relationship with Krishna increases. Everything is increasing. And when things start to decrease, Prabhupada said that means it's material. Material things are always decreasing. So we have to be careful not to be vigilant that our service doesn't become material. Because if it starts decreasing, then we're no longer on the spiritual platform. We're on the material platform, and eventually we'll just leave. So you always want to be increasing. So we ask the Lord to help us. This is a good way to stay connected to the Lord. You're speaking to him every night, quality time, asking for his help. And he's going to think, wow, you're really serious. You're asking for my help every evening. You're very sincere. He's going to give you extra mercy. So this is a wonderful situation. So Prabhupada says that by the mercy of the Lord, then, such a devotee never comes back to the material condition of life. Because you don't want to come back to the material condition of life. You always want to be in spiritual life. Now here, Kshema, Yoga Kshema. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by bhakti yoga. He protects us. He protects our bhakti yoga advancement. Not only he protects, he preserves. So whatever we're doing remains, and then we're increasing. And then Prabhupada says, and when the devotee becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life. So the Lord will always protect us. Vahamyaham. Vahami means I carry. Prabhupada says here that I carry what they lack. So we all know that in order to go back to the spiritual world, you have to be 100% pure, 100% fully Krishna conscious. You can't go back to Godhead if you're 90% and you still have 10% material desires, material consciousness. So what happens? The end of your life, you're only 90% Krishna conscious and 10% still material. Well, because you've established a relationship with Krishna, because you spoke with him every day, because he saw you trying to become Krishna every single day, to become Krishna conscious every single day. So then he says, I carry what you lack. 10% lacking? Don't worry, I can handle it. I take away all those sinful reactions and I make it 100% pure. Now please come back to Godhead. And that's what he says in 1866. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, I take away all your sinful reactions. Mokshasyami, and I deliver you back home, back to Godhead. What do you have to do? Just Vamekam Sharanam, just surrender and make me number one in your life. Make me number one in your life. That's what you have to do. So how do we know who's number one in our life? Well, there's one way to find out. Every morning I pick up my bead bag and I'm going to do a little japa. And I start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. and I watch where my mind goes. And my mind goes to my Leela. It doesn't go to Krishna Leela. My mind goes to my Leela.
That's right.
So this way I know that I'm number one in my life. And Krishna doesn't want that I should be number one in my life. He wants he should be number one in my life. Therefore, we have to realize our position. Okay, right now, I'm living a life where I'm number one in my life. Everything is for me. But I want everything to be for Krishna instead. And how do we solve that problem? Because we all grow up, and everyone in every town and village in New Zealand, and every town and village in every other country, the whole world, everyone is working for their own benefit. They're number one. How do you get out of that so that someone else can be number one? May not be Krishna in the beginning, but at least I should be doing selfless service for someone else rather than just always for me. And the best way to do that is to get married and have a child. As soon as you have a child, immediately selfless service. You do everything for that kid. All the money you saved up for your own benefit, you're going to have a big holiday, go here, go there. You're going to buy some jewels and the best whatever, the new house, the new car. Now everything goes for the kid. You want everything to be the kid. When the kid's happy, you're happy. All your focus is on someone else. So the parents who have children, they've experienced what it means to do selfless service for another person. They know how to do it. They've already done it. Now, you just, that same focus you had for your child, you just do the same for Krishna. And then Krishna becomes number one in your life. And then Krishna will carry what you lack. You take away all your sinful reactions. He'll bring you back home, back to Godhead. Just make him number one in your life. Is he worthy of being number one in my life? I have to ask that question. Who is worthy to be the number one object of my love and devotion? Who's the most worthy person? Is it the Prime Minister? Is it my school teacher? Or is it the Supreme Personality of Godhead? According to the Parampara system, we should come to the realization that Krishna is the person most worthy. Now, this morning we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the prayers of Devahuti, Prabhupada is saying that we surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. And what about the Guru? Some people say you surrender to the Guru. Prabhupada said you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Guru is the most important person in your life. Why is he the most important person? Because he gave you everything that you need to reestablish your relationship with Krishna. Therefore, he's the most important person because he teaches you to surrender to Krishna. If he teaches you to surrender to himself and not Krishna, then you have to, okay, beware. This is not our tattva. This is not our philosophy. This is not the Parampara system. This is not the International Society for Guru Consciousness. It never was. It was always the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So here's what Krishna is saying. I'll read the shloka again. Those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So this is our goal, to become Krishna conscious. So we'll stop here, and if there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Father. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
What do you consider abominable in the eyes of falling down?
Well, Prabhupada, in that purport that we read this morning, Prabhupada said, was talking about sinful life. And he said, anything that you do that's not connected to Krishna is sinful life. And he gave the example where you may do something that's considered pious activity in the material world, but if it's not connected to Krishna, it's still sinful life. It may not be the most abominable, but it's sinful. Now, you're asking, what is the most abominable? What do we consider to be abominable? Well, everyone has a different perspective on what is the most abominable. But why we should focus on the most abominable? Why not focus on what is the most wonderful?
That's right.
And everyone will have a different perception on what is the most wonderful. But getting back to your point, what is the most abominable? It depends what is your level of Krishna consciousness. Let's use the example of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri is a great saint in our line. And when he heard that at one particular temple, the Gopinath temple in Raimuna, that they have this wonderful preparation that they offer to the Lord. And everyone's saying, you have to go there and taste that prasad. It's like incredible. So he arrives at that temple and he was thinking, wow, I'm going to be able to taste this prasad that everyone's saying is the greatest prasad ever. So he was there during the arti, and he was there while they were offering that prasad. And he was thinking how wonderful it would be to taste it. And then he freaked out. He said, oh my God, I'm already lusting after this. And it hasn't even been offered yet. It's just in the process of offering. And he was so freaked out that he left the temple and he started walking away in complete disgust for himself. He considered that to be an abominable fault. But that night, the pujari had a dream. And the deity, Gopinath, came to him in the dream. And he said, wake up, go and find my devotee, Madhavendra Puri, and tell him that of all the pots of this sweet rice kheer that you offered to me, I kept one pot aside specially for him. So the pujari woke up, couldn't believe it. In the dream, Krishna said that he had kept the pot aside. So he went to the altar, and there was a pot, a small pot. And he thought he had taken all the pots off and offered and distributed it. So he immediately went out in the streets calling out, Madhavendra Puri, Madhavendra Puri. And he finally, Madhavendra Puri heard him calling. And he said, yes, what is it? The Lord, you are the greatest devotee. The Lord stole a pot of sweet rice for you. Please come back to the temple. So Madhavendra Puri, he loved that sweet rice so much. He took that little clay pot and he kept it with him always. He ate the sweet rice, but he kept the pot, the little clay pot. And he broke it into pieces and he kept it with him. And he would, for months and months afterwards, he would take a tiny piece of the pot and eat a little piece every day.
Wow.
Because it was part of the prasad that the Lord had saved for him. So what he considered abominable, Krishna didn't consider abominable. So the question, what is abominable, is different for every single person. It depends on their perspective and their advancement in spiritual life. But we shouldn't be concerned with what's abominable, but the opposite, what is the most wonderful. And if we do have a slip in devotional service, it may be what someone may consider a minor slip, and I may consider it's abominable. But the Lord says, Sadhureva samantavya, I don't consider it abominable. If you carry on a devotional service, I will still consider you to be a sadhu. So what we may consider abominable, Krishna may not consider abominable. He just wants to see you get up and carry on in devotional service. And Prabhupada in the purport, he says that we're weak. We're new in devotional service. We're like children in devotional service. And Maya is very strong, no doubt.
Yeah.
And so we can be overcome by Maya. And there may be an accidental fall down. So he says that there may be one accidental fall down or another accidental fall down. But the Lord